precious gift of all, the gift of life. Go outside the city one of these days when you can actually see the stars in the heavens and look up at that remarkable scene. How can you not feel awe? How can you not feel wonder? How can you not feel so small that the very thought that you could control your destiny seems absurd, and all you can do is say, thank you for the gifts that I have. The miracle of this day, this moment, right now. The ability to create, our ability to invent, our ability to love every single day of our lives, regardless of whether each and every one of our individual plans or schemes or ideas actually pans out exactly as we wanted, is itself an incredible gift. So Judaism's answer to despair and to fear is look at the heavens and number the stars. The world has endured and will endure. Fundamental faith that God is a God who literally lights up the universe of which we are a part. Albert Einstein once said famously, well, he was famous and this statement of his was also famous. Albert Einstein once said famously, there are ultimately only two possible ways of looking at the universe. Either nothing is a miracle or everything is. And I choose to see a universe of miracles. I choose to see a universe of miracles. So when life doesn't turn out as we had planned, it is time to reevaluate our plans. After all, how many of us can draw a straight line in our own lives from the first glimmer of an idea to its ultimate success? How often does that really happen? The reality is that life, as we all know it, is messy and complicated. It's like the challenge of learning to walk. You've heard this analogy over and over again in your lives. We fail our way to success, literally. In fact, most of the time, failure is exactly the road to success, whether in business, in school, in learning just about anything, in relationships, love, everything. Everything that matters most. We stumble and fail our way to success. It's like watching a baby struggling to learn to walk. When you do that, you can see the microcosm of all learning in all of our lives. We stand up, fall down. Stand up, fall down. Stand up, fall down. Again, keep standing, falling, standing, and falling, until one day we stand and kind of wobble a little and miracle, we're up. So the obvious is everybody cheers at that accomplishment. You watch these little people struggling to get up, and when they finally do it, it's like, yay! Everybody hugs them, cheers, and urges them on. What if the first time they fell down, you can imagine the inner dialogue of the baby, right? Wow, that didn't feel good. I'm a failure at life. I don't know how to do it. I'll never get it right. I don't know what to do to make it work. I better quit, because I obviously don't know what I'm doing. And at this rate, I'll probably never figure it out. And if that had been our inner dialogue the first time we tried to walk, we would all be sitting on the floor right now. That's the reality of life. Same story with everything, riding a bike, everything. Learning to do just about anything worthwhile in life, same story. Success isn't whether or not we have hurdles in life. It's whether we keep standing up and running and jumping until we go over the hurdles. That's what matters, because everyone has hurdles. I've said it a million times, but I'm known for being redundant, so I don't mind saying it again. The number one most powerful image for me, metaphor for life, is always the simple EKG. You know, they hook you up to these wires, and they measure what your heart is doing, and what does it look like? If you are alive, it looks like this. This is what the pulse of life looks like, always for everyone. If instead it looks like this, it's not what you want. Some people think, oh, if only everything were like this. This is not life. This is life. Literally the very pulse of life, all of our lives. It's the same with every challenge of life. Up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, forever. We are in the cycle of reading the Torah, coming to the very end of the book of Deuteronomy, where we read about how God challenged Moses and the Israelites with one of the most powerful and profound messages in all of our sacred liturgy. You've all heard this one before as well. God says, I set before you this day life and death, good and evil, blessing and curse. Therefore, choose life. Choose life that you and your descendants may live and thrive on the land which I'm giving you. Choose life. It's such a simple message, choose life, and it seems so obvious, but it's perhaps the single most difficult, most challenging of all of the choices we make. Why? Because who is to say which of our experiences and opportunities and relationships in our lives will turn out to be the blessings and which ones turn out to be the curses? If it were so easy, so simple, so self-evident which was which, wouldn't we always choose blessings? Who would have curses in their lives? Of course we would. But it isn't so simple, and it isn't always so clear, and it isn't always so easy to tell the difference. I'm willing to bet just about anything that every one of you here tonight has a personal story that would bear this out. That would be fun, kind of to go around and have everybody, I won't, tell your story. Look, 25 years ago, Aditi and I were living in Tarzana, in the valley, and I was looking for a job. I was working at Temple Judea in Tarzana. It was time to move on. I wanted to have my own congregation. And I was interviewing at any synagogue that was available, hoping to get hired as their rabbi. And then the perfect pulpit opened up at exactly the right time, in exactly the right place, Northridge. I knew I was perfect for the position. I was already in the valley, and I had already been working as the associate at Temple Judea for 6 years. I was pretty sure I'd earned a fairly good reputation in the valley as a rabbi at the time. I was well known. I'd just gotten some award for being involved with the Jewish Federation with starting a homeless shelter, so people knew who I was. And I had lots of congregants who already lived in Northridge and said, oh, they would love it if I moved there. And to top it all off, couldn't have been better, I actually knew someone on the search committee itself. What could be more perfect? Perfect job, perfect opportunity. I wouldn't have to move. My custody with Gable would remain the same. One blessing after another. In fact, they were also looking for a cantor at the time, and I was obviously so confident about getting the rabbi position that I encouraged a cantor friend of mine to apply as well, so we would end up working together as a team. I went to the interview with total confidence and enthusiasm and knew it was what we like to call a slam dunk. And sure enough, they hired my friend as their new cantor. And they hired my classmate from rabbinic school, a rabbi named Jerry Brown, to be their new rabbi instead of me. Frankly, I was devastated. Actually, we were devastated. Life had certainly not turned out the way I expected. I remember the despair, the sense of failure. I couldn't believe it. Self-doubt. I was certain I was in line for the blessing of a new job and a new life, and instead, I got the curse of rejection. And then this small Reconstructionist congregation in Pacific Palisades called Kehillat Israel announced that they too were looking for a new rabbi. And yes, it was only a couple of hundred families in an old, fairly funky building with a young 23-year-old cantor who just started that year as his first full-time job. And it was a congregation with what appeared to be a huge turnover of professional staff. I think they had had 3 rabbis, 3 cantors, and 3 educators within the previous 6 years. Didn't sound very inviting, didn't sound very stable or clergy-friendly, but I really needed a job, and I really wanted to be the rabbi of my own congregation. So with a heavy heart and a big sigh, I threw my kippah into the ring, and I applied for the position. Who could have known that other than meeting Didi, of course, it turned out to be the greatest blessing of my life. 24 years later, I'm still here, with Chaim starting his 25th year, and a congregation that